She saves lives every day, but feels like hers is on hold. For many nurses, the dream of relocating feels just out of reach, buried beneath confusion, costs, and conflicting information. The truth? It's not as simple as they say, and definitely not as impossible as it feels. What if you could hear the real story, the process, the mistakes, the breakthroughs from someone who's walked the path? Relocation isn't just about changing countries, it's about changing lives. The path is real, the story is true, the time is now. True Talk with Sam presents the truth about relocating to Australia as a nurse. Tune in on Thursday, the 24th of April, 2025, 2 p.m. UK time, 10 p.m. Australian time. Live on YouTube at True Talk with Sam. Learn. Begin your journey.
All right, welcome to this program, True Talk with Sam. This edition is quite an interesting one, and I'm glad you are joining us today. If this is the first time you're joining True Talk with Sam, this is a program where we share information on how to live and adapt well as a nurse, either here in the UK or any part of the world. Today's topic is quite an interesting one. Many persons have the intentions of relocating to Australia, and I have my very good friend here who is actually working and living in Australia as a nurse to give us insights on any question you would like to ask concerning relocating to Australia as a nurse. Basically, I have Charity on the call today, and apologies. I think currently it's 11 p.m. in Australia, and I had to keep her awake for this program. Hi, Charity.
Hi, Sam.
Thank you very much for joining us. And without wasting much of your time, I would like to introduce my guest today. I have Charity Imoesiri, who is a registered nurse, a registered midwife, a registered public health nurse, and a mental health nurse. Charity has been opportune to practice in diverse areas of nursing, including midwifery, acute care, mental health, and critical care. The dynamic experience has promoted personal growth, leadership potential, and a deeper understanding of the healthcare system, ultimately leading to more competent and compassionate nursing practice. Originally, Charity is from Nigeria, and she's currently based in Australia, and she's passionate about innovation and education to improve lives. And Charity enjoys teaching others and spending time with her family. Charity is a wife married to the most handsome man on earth, Odogo himself, Ezekiel Imoesiri, and she's a mother to two resourceful girls. She's a lover of God and a visionary for children, passionate about inspiring their growth, purpose, and potential. She believes every child deserves love, guidance, and opportunity through creative outreach and intentional impact. Charity strives to build a future where children are empowered to dream big and become all they are meant to be. Quite impressive, Charity. I like the part that you said your husband is the most handsome man in the world, Odogo himself.
We can go.
Quite interesting, and welcome to this show. Please, guys, if you have any question, feel free to type it on the chat box. We'll do justice to them as we'll ask anything at all you would want to know about living and working as a nurse in Australia. We'll go straight to the program because it's quite an interesting one, and Charity is here to share the experience and our opinion as regards her working and living in Australia. So please, can you just tell us what do you think the biggest hurdles might be if we start this registration process with APRA, considering the new pathways and the immigration process specifically for nurses?
Okay. Considering the new pathway, I will say the new pathway make things a lot easier compared to what it was before. A lot of us that came to Australia before, some of us had to go through New Zealand. You have to register first, register us in New Zealand. Before then, you can do the Trans-Sama Mutual registration and then transit to coming to Australia and all that. But being able to register directly to Australia, I think it makes it a whole lot easier. Considering the fact that most of the people on your platform or people that are in UK with the new part one and part two, you find out that it makes it a lot easier. All you just have to do is have the correct documentation that they want you to have. That's one thing. And most time, I know in their uploading of documents, they usually have specifications. So some people will just decide to like, oh, let me just scan it anyhow. But then they have specifications, so you have to follow their own guidelines when you're doing the process. Read what the requirements are and follow it rigidly. Another thing I will talk about that might be a hurdle is the fact that the pathway is new, and a lot of people want to come to Australia now just because it's a lot easier. And mind you, it's not just people in UK, the people in other countries are also interested. So I think the rush might make it a bit slower, maybe for them to respond and all that. Although they promise like the formal process usually take like from 12 months, like 2 years. But they promise like this particular one is going to take from 1 month to 6 months,
Six
which
months, yeah.
yes, to 6 months. So let's see, which is a good one. But I'm just in my own view. I'm just saying if the rush is too much, because I don't think they would have envisaged like a lot of people will jump into the system like that. But if it gets too much, I think it might be overwhelming and they might not be able to meet up with the 6 months thing. Another challenge that I think people might have relocation as a whole, it's a big deal. Yes, different people you relocate for different reasons. Some people want to have a better salary, some want to have a work-life balance, other people want to do career development. So depending on what you're actually looking out for or what you're going for, that will be another area to consider that might be a bit challenging. What am I going for? Will I get there and it will be disappointing? Will I get there and it's going to be exactly what I thought it was going to be? So I think these are the little things that will come into play. Another thing is doing your registration and all of it.
Yeah.
Apart from your documentation, I know they do police check. I know they do a lot of reference. They want reference from your workplace. Are you able to get all this just the way they want it? So I think another thing concerning the time frame, I think another thing that might pose a delay is if you're not able to maybe get exactly what they require of you, or
Yeah.
maybe whoever is sending your documents are not sending it at the stipulated time they want it. I think those are just minor little things that can delay your process. But yeah, it promises to be swift and let's look forward and see that within 1 to 6 months that we will all get our registration and get
Yeah.
back into Australia.
Thank you very much. And remembering that you are also a registered nurse here in UK, can you tell us the difference between the Australian healthcare system and the NHS that you've been?
Good. I think Australian healthcare system and UK one, yes, they do a good work generally, but I think the UK deals with NHS and Australia does Medicare. Now, the
Okay.
basic difference is that Medicare it's both private and public, unlike the NHS, which is just government funded. So in Medicare, I think another big difference is the fact that NHS cares for all the residents, anyone who's living in UK. NHS is easily they can access NHS, but
Healthcare.
in
Yeah.
Australia usually it's for their citizen and permanent residents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if you're not, you might not just be able to get free. And owing to the fact that it's public and private, it means there's some things that are not covered in your Medicare that you have to deal with yourself.
Sorry, when you say Medicaid, are you talking about health insurance or?
No, just the way you
Okay.
have NHS.
Yes, just
Australia one
yeah.
is Medicare. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, just the way you have NHS in UK, Australia one is
Yeah.
Medicare. So if you're even though you have Medicare, you're encouraged to have a private insurance because there are some things that are not covered in the Medicare.
Okay, I see.
And I think just based on the fact that Medicare has private and the public, the treatment and everything seems to be swifter. Because if you're paying yourself, of course, you know how that works. You will get, unlike NHS, that sometimes they'll have to keep you in the queue for like forever. Yeah, I think those are the big differences. But in talking about the care, the both of them do a very good work, I must say.
Okay, so as regards Medicare, you need to have maybe extra private
insurance to be able to cover what Medicare cannot cover for you.
Okay, I see. Now, looking at relocating, I know it costs money, costs time, and it's really exhausting. As regards cost, maybe the visa fee or the flight fee, is it that expensive or?
I think visa fee depends on the kind of visa. You can see Australia have different kind of visa. Like, for example, if you're coming to Australia, we're talking about nurses now, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you did maybe you have an employee sponsored visa, for example, that's 186, or you have 494, which is a regional sponsored visa, or you have an individual, what do they call it again? Like it's 190, like personal sponsored one. Okay. I think all of them are almost, I think they are all same price. And I think it's about 4,770 Australian dollar for the visa application. And that is for an individual. So if you're coming alone, that's yours. And then you have to consider your family as well, because they have to apply alongside with you. And not just the visa, you're going to do medicals wherever you are. The medicals, I think when I did my medicals was I can't remember the actual, but let's say between 500 thereabouts.
Okay. Is it pounds or
Australian dollars? Yes. If you're the one, if it's only you, yeah, that's it. But if you have family, of course, you're going to actually pay for them. And another thing about flights, I can't give you, because the price I maybe when I came last, it's definitely not going to be the same thing. So I would advise, when you're ready, jump online and check what the cost it's like. But I don't think it's, of course, if you've worked in the UK, plenty pounds, you have a lot of money. I don't think if you've gotten the registration and you have everything that it takes, you've got your visa, I don't think paying for flights
should be an issue.
Herculean tax, I don't think so.
Just talking about flight, what's the distance? How long is it? The flight from
I think it's UK about 22 hours thereabout. It's a long one. I remember when I was coming to Australia, oh my God, it was as if it was never ending. Like, I would sleep and wake up and I would sleep again, and I'm like, when do I get to this place?
Interesting. That's quite a
it's a long distance. It's really very long. So if you're coming to Australia from the UK, make up your mind it's going to be a long journey, and then prepare ahead for it.
Quite interesting. I think some persons might even have the idea of probably coming over for maybe a vacation to see how the place is, and but looking at 22 hours flight, I don't know if
it's discouraging. Yeah, yes, but yeah, if it's worth doing, come on, why not?
All right. Looking at accommodation, let's talk about accommodation. What's the cost of accommodation when you are renting, and then how easy is it to get a mortgage?
Okay, talking about accommodation. Okay, in rentage, let's say. I won't talk about, because your cost of accommodation depends on so many factors. The kind of house you're living, if you're living in a townhouse, if you're living in an apartment, if you're living in a city, or you're living in a regional area. Those are the factors you'd still have to consider.
Just hold that thought for now. Hello, guys. Please share this link to your friends, because this is actually an eye-opener for a lot of persons. They've been having the thought of relocating to Australia, and they don't really know anybody to reach out to. This is actually a good avenue to ask any questions that bothers them. So please share the link. We're live now, and we have Charity to actually give us insight on any of the questions that's bothering us. Please, if you have any questions, you can write it and type it on the chat box, and we will definitely answer that. Sorry, please just go ahead. Thanks.
Okay, so depends on where you're living. I will talk about where I'm living. I live in Victoria.
All right.
And it's believed that Sydney, Melbourne are the most like expensive cities. Like if you want to live accommodation wise, like they're very expensive. I stay very close to Melbourne, and averagely I was saying long accommodation. If you're staying in a 3 bedroom, I want to use myself as an example. Like when I came into Australia,
Okay.
I was paying a bit high because I got the house while I was in the UK.
Mm.
And some of my friends got it a bit less just because they were on ground when they found their house. You know, when you're out there and then you're looking for a house, they know you're not here. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
agents, whatever they offer, you just have to go with it. So it was a bit high. But I think between 2000, we're able to get accommodation. Let's say between 2000 to 2000 to 3, you should be able to get 3 bedroom accommodation flats for yourself and your family.
Okay. That's Australian dollars you're talking about now.
Yes, Australian dollars. I'm not
Okay.
talking in pounds.
Pounds.
Australian dollars.
Okay.
Come on, you're earning in Australian dollars. You shouldn't be talking about pounds.
Yeah. So I'm trying to convert, and let's see, so that it will be relatable. You understand? All right.
And
So
you said something about, sorry, you said something about mortgage.
mortgage. Yeah. How easy is it?
I will tell you, compared to the UK, the Australian system is very, very easy. Being that, especially when you come in as a permanent resident, and of course you are a nurse, and if you're getting sponsorship or you're sponsoring yourself and all that, if you get a permanent residency, getting accommodation is very, very easy. Reason being that government subsidizes it for you. So out of pocket is just like 5%
Hmm.
of what you're going to, what the house is worth. So for example, let's say you're going for a house of, and especially for first time buyers.
Yeah.
So you're going to buy a house of, let's say 600,000 Australian dollars, for example. You only need $30,000 to pay as
Interesting.
deposit. Yes. And the bank, they're happy to like fund the remaining ones and you're able to get your house. And from experience, I will tell you that a lot of people that I know that have relocated from UK to Australia, within 6 months to 1 year of their arrival, they're able to purchase their homes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's really
Yes.
encouraging.
That's no, I don't think that's visible. I don't know how possible that is in the UK.
Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
extremely,
But
yeah.
because you're working and you're a nurse, all they need to know, I think you can even get it in less than 6 months. You're a permanent resident. I think the only thing that would delay you is maybe your partner, that's your husband, it's doing a part-time or a casual. So they want you to get like 6 months pay slip. But if your partner or your husband is also doing a full-time job, they just need 1 month or 2 months salary pay slip
Yeah,
and you're able to
basically.
get your
Wow.
house. So it's very, very easy. They make it very easy for us here in Australia to get your first house.
That's really very encouraging. Hopefully, that changes the mind of people that are planning to relocate. Now, looking at support system and support network. Now, we're moving from the UK down to Australia. What support system on ground, or what support system or network exists to actually cater for international nurses that are relocating to Australia?
I will talk about my personal experience. Of course, you'll be told that the nursing and midwifery body is there, but do they really reach out to grassroots? Do they really get to you? That's one question you have to ask. I'm talking about, let me say, my workplace, for example, when I came. Owing to the fact that in Australia, of course, we're all told it's multicultural, so it's not just for a particular culture. Different people are here. You meet different people from different cultures, from different backgrounds. That's one beautiful thing about Australia. But even at that, especially when I came to where I'm staying, I found out that the number of blacks were very few. And so,
Yeah.
unlike UK, where I was coming from, where it's like you have a community, even if it's not from the nursing body, but you have a community, like, but it wasn't like that for me. And that was a very big challenge for me because it got to a time like we really felt like going back to the UK. I bet you when
Mm,
you come to Australia, you will feel like that for the first time. Maybe I don't know
definitely.
if everybody did,
Definitely.
but I felt like that. We're contemplating doing it to go back. This place is really somehow. And the fact that you're different from everybody, they stare, they look at you like you're really different and you feel
Wow.
it. And the support system was, to me, wasn't really great. But eventually we found our feet. We found the Nigerian association here in where I stand were able to join, and yeah, they are good family. They, that I think those were the things that actually made us feel at home. If I'm talking about the support in my work, in my place of work, yes, from relocating, they gave me a body who was very, very helpful, helped me in getting things into my house because I rented a house before I got to Australia. She was very helpful. But that's the individual. That does not mean everyone would do it for you. Some people might just be able to guide you. Okay, this is what you do. Fine, the hospital will send you links on how to get your accommodation, but they don't get it for you.
Wow.
So if you're lucky to get someone who can, especially if you're coming with a family, if you're a single person, the hospital can, I'm using my hospital as an example, they can give you an accommodation of 3 months thereabouts. But if you have a family, they don't have plans for you. So you have to sort that yourself. So if you have a good body, the person is able to like help you look for accommodation and all of it. That's great. But if you don't have it, it becomes a challenge because you need to come here and then start sourcing for things, which might be very, very stressful owing to the fact that you're in a new environment. Another thing about support, I think that wasn't so great when I came to Australia. It wasn't much of a problem for me, but I think many people might face that challenge. I don't know if it's that way in other hospital, but my hospital, you know, when I came to UK, you have to do, what do they call it? Supernumerary. You do
Yeah.
induction, you do supernumerary, and then
You
it's
go
for how many
preceptorship
months
and all
later?
this stuff.
You do it for a very long time. And then
Yeah.
when I came to Australia, the first day I worked, I had like a supernumerary shift. The second day I worked, and then the third day my manager called me and said the report we got is that you can work independently, and that was it. And from that
Wow.
day, that was so I didn't. That was I had just two supernumerary shifts. I don't know
Two.
if other people. Yes, I don't know if other
Interesting.
people experience it that way, but that was my own story. To me, it was fine by me because maybe I was confident because of my experience in UK, and I've practiced for a couple of years, so it wasn't a problem. But I was thinking, if it's for someone who has not had lots of experience, how will they cope? So I think the support system, especially in the hospital, of which of course I met the manager and I told them,
Yeah.
I don't think it's right to just throw people out there. There's some people who cannot cope. Yeah, but yeah, that's my story, and but I survived it. I was able to do it. I don't know if that story will be same for another person.
Quite interesting. Wow. And looking at the cultural difference, what would you say, or what would you like to tell us? What should we be aware of when moving to Australia culturally?
Um, Culturally, as I said earlier, it's multicultural. So coming to Australia, you're going to see different cultures. You're going to see people from different places. Another thing in Australia is that they use a lot of slangs. That's
Hmm.
They are weird because you're not used to them. They, they actually use a lot of slang. Seriously, that when they talk to you with those slangs, you're like, you're not getting what they are saying. So I think that slang thing is a big deal because when I came, and there were some things they would say, and I'll be like, what are they trying to say? Someone is trying to tell you something about afternoon, and you're saying avo. What on earth is avo?
Interesting.
So it's Aussies have their own way, and it's I think the slang thing was one thing that I picked out. And I think another thing that made me feel very uncomfortable and my family as well. And of course, I've discussed with some friends and they've mentioned is the fact that they stare so much here in Australia. People stare at you. I don't know if that's because the black community is not so much. And so when
Yeah.
they see you, it's like they give you
Yeah.
that stare. And I remember when I got to my hospital and each time I was in the acute pool, so I didn't have, if I wasn't working in a particular ward, I could go work in critical care, I could work in medicine, I could work in surgery, so I go everywhere. Then I realized if I'm entering the handover room, everyone is like, other people enter and everyone is fine. And then when you're entering, everyone is looking at you like, at first it was like, why are they staring at me like that? I'll have to look at
Yeah.
myself like, is there? And of course, you're the only black in the building. So why they are staring. But then I
Yeah.
had to devise a means. Why do they stare? What do I need to do? I need to be comfortable. I won't allow people make me feel uncomfortable when I come to work. And then when I'm entering the handover room and everyone is staring, I'm the only one that enters and say, hello, everyone. And then when you say hello, you see everyone try to coordinate and everyone is,
Yeah.
I think that was my own strategy. But Otherwise, I think they're beautiful people, they are good people who will help you. So even if I was talking about that, the hospital as a whole, there was no orientate or there was no supernumerary shift. I made some great nurses in the wards where I worked that were willing to help and help you navigate. And another thing was the abbreviations. They use abbreviations a lot, which I think in the UK we don't use a lot of abbreviations. So when you get there and you're seeing on your handover sheets, you're seeing lots of abbreviations. You don't even know what they are saying. You're just seeing a lot of abbreviation, but you have so many people. They are good people who are willing to help and they're able to direct you. So colleagues at work, they were great. They were great support for me as well.
That's a good one. So even considering your years of experience working in UK, you still had to face a little bit of challenge when you arrived in
Yes,
Australia.
of course, because in UK it's like when your next door neighbor is someone like you, your next door neighbor, you can come out in UK and as in you're just coming out, I'm like, babe, how far now? That's how it is. But then in
Yeah.
Australia, you're coming out and you're speaking English all through just because there's no one to
Yeah.
say how you did. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say, but I
Yeah.
think it has really improved with this 1 year that a lot of nurses have relocated into Australia. I think the number of, especially Black community, has increased as well. I must say, because even in
Yeah.
my hospital, I have a lot of friends now that are Blacks. I have, yes. Apart from Blacks, you have a lot of Indians, you have about Nepals, you have a lot of, so it's multicultural, and then you tend to see a lot of people from various cultures.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at the salary ranges for nurses. What are the typical salary ranges and some benefit packages if we are considering relocating? And do they consider experience and specialty when looking at salary?
Yeah, that's a good question. In Australia and in Victoria, where I work, your salary depends on your years of experience, depends on your qualification. So
Okay.
it depends on a lot of things, actually. It depends on where you are working. So maybe you're working in the rural area, or maybe you're working in the city. Sometimes there might be a different. Then another thing is your year of experience. I'm going to give example. For example, a grad nurse who is just graduated, who is just been admitted into the hospital. So the person is a registered nurse, and the person is in year one. You find out that the salary is absolutely different from someone who has studied nursing or who has graduated and had practiced for like 5 years. So as the year increases, your salary increases as well. And talking about recognition of studies, absolutely, Australian recognize your study. So if, for example, now I'm, let's say, with my year of experience, I'm at the highest scale of, I'm just giving as an example of,
Yeah.
let's say, grade 2, for example, and paraventure, I have a graduate certificate. I just submit it to my workplace, and then they recognize it. They increase your salary by 4%. If you have a diploma, they increase it by a higher percentage. If you have a master's degree, they increase it. So we both might be in level 9, in year 9 or year 8 or whatever, but one person might be earning higher because of the qualifications that the person has acquired. And apart from your salary, there's a beautiful thing they do here, which I think we don't do in the UK. It's this salary packaging stuff. So the salary packaging is just you receive your salary and they don't tax all of it.
Oh, really?
So, for example, when I relocated from UK, I had to submit my flight, my medicals, my visa fee, my accommodation, all of it. I had to submit it to my hospital. Like these were the expenses, and then
Okay.
so they calculate it, and they have the way they calculate it and take out the percentage. Okay, that's from this money that this person has spent, let's say $500 should not be taxed. So before they pay you, before they tax your money, they remove the 500 or the 600 or whatever amount it is. They remove it, and then whatever is remaining, they tax it. They
Taxes.
pay you what they tax, and then they pay you your salary package. So you can see that gives you more money.
Okay. Is that done regularly? Is it on a monthly
Yeah, I think
basis?
because it's one of the things you see when you're looking for a job. You see most of the jobs when they're advertising, you see salary packaging, salary sacrifice, and all that. They do it a lot, so it's not just unique to my workplace. Most
Okay.
places do it.
Yeah, so it's not really like they refund you the amount you use in relocating or
Okay, like when I came to Australia, they used to refund.
okay.
Um, they don't refund everything. Like Victoria government, then I think when you relocate, they give you $13,000 for relocating outrightly. They just once you arrive, they pay your hospital pay you $13,000 for relocating. That's aside the salary package I'm talking about.
Oh, that's different. Okay.
That's a different thing. Yes, the 13,000 is welcome to Australia. You
Interesting.
agreed to come
Ah,
to
I
Australia,
didn't get that in
but I
UK.
think
They
I
didn't tell us
think they
welcome.
don't. I don't know if they do it, especially in Victoria West. I don't know if they do it again. I'm not too sure about it because I remember at the time my hospital they were saying something like the government wasn't funding it again and they were not going to continue paying international nurses that amount. So aside from your salary package, they pay you a welcome bonus, which is that 13,000, and then they can do your salary packaging as well when you start receiving your salary.
Wow. Now, looking at the shift pattern, what are the typical shift patterns and working hours for nurses in Australia? Is it really
Um,
different from the UK in the NHS
yes,
system?
it's. I think mostly UK we do 12 hours.
Yeah, we do
Like it's
12 hours
almost a
shift.
norm.
Yeah.
Like yeah, but in Australia, I think most of the work they do 8 hours and they do 12 hours. But I think most of the time it's 8 hours is like the main thing. So
Okay.
usually morning and afternoon shift are 8 hours, and then night shift is 10 hours.
Yeah.
Unlike UK, I think you just do two
Two shift.
that
Yeah. It's
morning
either
and
long
then night.
days or
Yeah,
nights.
so
Yeah.
but in Australia, you do
Understand.
morning shift, you do afternoon shift, and you do night shift. There are some places, like for example, in the critical care unit, you can choose to do a 12-hour shift.
Okay.
Yes, you can get a 12-hour shift if you want it. But most of the time you have three like it's rationed into three, your morning shift, your
So is it
afternoon,
that, yeah,
and
is
then
it that you're the one to decide, or is it contracted? Is it in your
I
contract,
think
or
I think
do you opt
the
for it?
thing is what's their business with your contract is how many hours you should do in fortnight or how many hours you should do in a week.
Okay.
So for example, I when I in the ICU, for example, they you can choose to do, let me say now, I'm using that as an example. If I'm contracted for 80 hours per fortnight, when I say fortnight, just now I'm talking about 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
In
Okay.
2 weeks. So if I'm contracted for 80 hours per in fortnight, it means if I decide to do a day shift, you can opt like depending on where you're working, but most of the wards they do 8 hours.
8 hours. Okay.
But you can request. Some people will even go as far as requesting, oh, maybe today can I just do two shifts? That's 16 hours as a whole, depending on what you want. It's not like it's a norm, but the normal thing is like 8 hours, and then yeah, some people can do 12 hours, depending on where you're working.
So how does the nurse to patient ratio in Australia compare to that in the NHS in UK here?
That's a good one. I
Yes, it
think
is.
that's one thing I really enjoyed when I came to Australia. Back in the UK, I worked in the ward before I went to critical care. Of course, in critical care, it's just one on one.
One for
So,
one.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
you and your patient. But in the ward in UK, I remember when I was in the ward, it was crazy because sometimes you get like one person is getting like eight patients, one
Yeah,
person is getting
that's
like
that's not
six
crazy
patients.
enough. You get like 10, some you get
Huh?
12. Yes, I'm
Okay,
serious.
I've never gotten that. I think the maximum I've experienced in the UK it's like eight patients. But
There was
here in
some
Australia,
trusts are having 10, 12. I'm
to
not
one
joking.
patient. And then now
Yeah,
you can imagine how when we talk about nursing burnout, you can see where it comes from, how one person is caring for 10 people. But in Australia, it's a standard. It's one nurse to four patients.
interesting.
Yes, it's one
Maka.
nurse to it's one nurse to four patients. Like I will take my hospital as an example, especially for morning and afternoon shifts. If you're doing morning or afternoon shift, you're only having four patients to one nurse. But if you're doing a night shift, it differs. Some will do six, some will go as far as doing eight, some will do five. So it depends. But morning, afternoon, it's a norm, it's a standard. You only have four patients. But don't smile too much about that, not
Um,
Sammy, because
okay.
it's something different as well in Australia and the UK. You find out that in the UK you have nurse assistants, patient, what do they call it? Patient
Nursing
assistant.
assistant.
Yes, But
Oh,
in
this healthcare support worker. Is
healthcare,
that
so
what it is?
yeah, healthcare
Yeah,
workers.
yeah.
But in Australia, you don't get that. You only get healthcare workers maybe when your patient is confused, or maybe there's something about that patient that the patient needs one-to-one care.
Oh, okay.
So as a nurse, you're having four patients, but you're doing everything for the patient.
Everything,
Yes, you're doing
everything.
everything for the patient. Yes. So you don't have someone that you say, except you have Rosons. Rosons are student nurses, except you have Rosons in the world who can, okay, do some things, but if not, you're doing everything. So you work with your colleagues to help 10 patients, to help do bed bath if you have to, and all that. But in UK, I know sometimes you don't even get to do the bed bath because the
The support worker.
PSA, no, they don't call it PSA
Mm.
in UK. The
Support
healthcare
worker.
workers,
Let's go.
yeah,
Yeah.
they will have to do it. So that's a big difference. You have four patients, but
Okay.
you're actually doing everything for your four patients.
All right. Hello, guys. I want us to comment on this. Which would you prefer? Having a nurse to patient ratio of 1 to 8 in the UK, and probably you also have your healthcare support worker, or you are having a nurse to patient ratio in Australia of 1 to 4, and you're doing everything. And I just want to hear your opinion on that. You can just type it on the chat box. Let's have a little deliberation on that. What are the career opportunities for probably advancements within the nursing profession in Australia?
I think there are lots of opportunities depending on what the individual wants as well. You can talk about nursing leadership. Maybe you're in the
Okay.
world and you want to keep climbing. That's one area that people want to, so that you can go as far as becoming a norm. That's the nurse unit manager and all of it. Some people want to do it in the education way, to maybe become lecturers, to be able to teach other nurses that come in. That's another career pathway. Another thing is specialization. For example, you that is in ICU, you're in pediatric, they want to advance in ICU and become get to the highest cadre. So I think it just depends on what field you're looking at, what you
Yeah,
want as a person, but there are career pathways for you to progress.
that's really very good. Now let's look at the lifestyle generally in Australia. What's the general cost of living as per? I know we have different cities and different regions. So in general, what's the cost of living like?
I think generally in the whole world, as a matter of fact, the cost of living is high as it is. But
Mm,
as a nurse, even though the cost of living is high, I don't think you will still suffer. Your salary is enough for you. I don't know. I don't know if I'm trying. I don't know if I'm actually answering what you've asked. But I don't want to
yeah,
say, oh, the cost of living is killing, and even if it's expensive, you're still able to cope as a nurse.
that's enough. I like that
Yes.
part. All right, can you just clear the doubt? Okay, I'm saying a lot of persons they say they prefer 1 to 4, as in everybody is preferring 1 to. It's obvious.
Now let me tell you something about the 1 to 4. When I say one
Okay,
to four, you might just think, oh, 1 to 4. You might be so lucky that you're 1 to 4, they are all independent.
yeah,
So what you're practically doing is giving medication and maybe doing your food balance chart if they require that and all that. You get? There's no way you can get 1 to 4 and all of them are bedridden. I haven't seen it. So they do it in such a way, even if you're getting to who you're going to assist, and you get what I'm trying to say. So no matter how you see it, the 1 to 4, it's
it's
100%
still
better.
better. Do you do that personal care? Do you guys do personal care over there the way we do personal care here?
Yes, you do.
Okay, you still do.
Yes.
Okay.
Are you going to leave your patient
No,
dirty side?
I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted to.
Yes, you do personal care for your patients that cannot
Okay.
help themselves. Of course, you do.
All right. Clarify this myth and misconception. Okay. A lot of people think Australia is an animal kingdom as portrayed on social media. You go to TikTok, you go to Instagram, you see a lot of videos of, let me just say, snakes coming out from the toilet, from animals in the living room. And a lot of persons are scared of coming to Australia. Charity, is this true? Is there animals around your, okay, not your living room?
Everybody run for your life. Animals everywhere. I knew this question was going to come, and
Oh goodness.
I think it's a myth because so far, okay, I haven't stayed so long in Australia though. It's just going to my second year, but for the 2 years, I don't think I've ever seen a snake. As a matter of fact, you're not coming to Australia to go and live in the bush. So I don't know why you should be seeing snakes. I don't know why you should be seeing wild animals when you're living in a house. Except you now decide to go and live inside the bush. So I think sometimes when I see those videos, I think we've discussed this before, Sammy, and you're asking me,
Yeah, we
is it really
have.
true? And I went as far as asking some of my friends who were born here and who have lived here all their life. And I'm like, okay, maybe because I'm new, is there going to be a time like maybe I came during winter, I came in June, and is it that in summer it will start coming out? I was looking forward to it. Yes, I was really okay. Let me see when the snakes will start crawling out, and but eventually summer came, ended, winter came, ended, and I didn't see any snake. And so I had to ask people like, where is this information coming from? Why do people talk about the snakes? Why? And the girl told me she's lived in this Australia all her life. She's an Australian and she's never seen a snake. So I don't know. I really
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
where. So that's why I said maybe because we're living in a home. But if you decide to go and live inside the bush, maybe you might see snakes, but my dear, there's no snake anyway. I'm not seeing any snake, Jerry.
Interesting. I think Vera on the call is a kangaroo with big muscles fighting people. I've seen a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
videos
the
everywhere.
kangaroo thing. Yeah, it's people. I haven't seen it though, but I know there are some places I drive to, and then they tell you beware of kangaroos. Like it's not
Oh.
that they don't fight you. Why? Yeah, when people say it, I envisage it like, oh, you are living in a forest where there are many trees and wild animals or other animals are just creeping around and kangaroos are hugging you. It's of course
Hmm.
it's not like that because the picture they give out there is like it will be your house and kangaroo will just come out
I'm
and jump
telling
into your
you,
house and it's it's not that way. Maybe when you're possibly maybe when you're going through the highway where they have bushes, you might see kangaroo, which I haven't seen though. But I know some people have seen it, but I think
okay.
that's it. But it's not around where you live, or
Yeah.
I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. So
I'm
that's what I'm
trying
saying.
to.
You're not living inside the bush, you live in a home. So there's no snake and there's no kangaroo in your house for crying out loud, not even on the streets.
All right. We have a question from Janet. She's saying, is the winter in Australia as cold as the UK?
When I came during winter. That was in June. It's not all part of Australia that is very cold though. But where's the Melbourne, yes, we have winter. And then when I came, when I go to work, they'll be like, oh, you came at the wrong time. It's so cold this period. And I'm like,
Like this cold.
is this cold? Like, what
Yeah.
are you saying? You can't compare it to the cold in UK. You cannot compare it. This one a joke. When you
Wow.
go to UK, that is when you have winter. This one it's not as
So
bad as UK.
it's not wintering at all.
It's not
Do you guys
wintering.
have
But the
snow?
bad thing about it is that if you have experienced the summer, because after I experienced summer in December, and then when winter came again, it was as if maybe I've forgotten the UK,
Yeah,
how
it
bad
now
it is in
becomes
the UK, and
cold.
then it
Yeah.
became very cold. Yeah, but it's not as bad as it is in the UK.
Does it snow in Australia?
Some places, yeah. Where I
Oh,
live, it doesn't snow here, but there are a few places where there's some places where it snows in Australia. Not all of the places, yeah.
all right. Now, considering those that have family members, kids,
Mm.
to be specific, what's the educational opportunities for accompanying family members? And would you like to rate probably the schools? I'm talking about the schools for kids. And would you want
Okay.
to rate their educational standard as compared to that in the UK?
Okay. I think my kids are still very small, but I think I've spoken to friends about it, and they think the educational standard here is good. They came from UK as well. But then that now depends on talking about, of course, there's no way you will stay in Australia where you will not find school for your children to go to. That's not possible. So just the way schools are in the UK, we have schools like that here in Australia. But then you can now, it now depends on you as an individual. It's are my children going to public school? Do I want to put them in private schools and all that? So I think
Okay.
that's the only reason why I cannot categorically say, okay, everybody is like this. It depends on your preference. You want your children to go to private school, okay, so you're selective of which and which, or you just want them to go to a public school, which is everywhere, and you can go there as a permanent residency. You're not paying a dime for it, except if you're going to a private school, and then you have to pay for that. If it's private, you have to pay, but if it's a public funded school, then you're not paying a dime for it.
Oh, interesting. So you won't be able to categorically rate it to say UK
Because
is
my
kind
children didn't go
of
to school in UK, and I would have been able to say, oh, but for the people I have asked, I have two friends that their children schooled in the UK, and with what they said, they told me, I remember how what Sia said, I think Australian system is very good.
okay.
They teach well, and I think my children are doing very well. I think those were her words. Because I heard from her, I'm not really able to. But of course, my child has started school, and I think they're doing very well. The only thing is that I cannot compare it to, because she was just in
That, yeah.
what do they call it, in crèche when we were in
In
UK.
UK.
Yes,
Okay.
so I can't really say. But from what people have said, Australian system is a good one as well.
All right. Now, looking at the climate and time zone, knowing that some parts of Australia you are like 8 hours plus 11 hours. Currently, you are almost 15 minutes to midnight in Australia. We are keeping you awake. How was it like acclimatizing your first time?
Okay, yeah, that was a big deal for me, because when I came, when I was coming from UK, I actually chose a resumption date that I felt, yeah, if I come, I should be able to settle in and then resume work. And then I realized when it's night, we are all awake. And when it's morning, we are deep asleep. And I'm like, I'm supposed to start morning shifts. And that's actually when I'm sleeping. So it wasn't easy for me personally. I had to mail my hospital like, I
I
think
can
I need
start
to,
now.
I can't resume, because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to like acclimatize to the whole change in weather and the change in time zone and all that. So it was a big challenge for me. So I had to extend like 1 week, because I
Wow.
needed to now consciously, oh, I don't want to sleep. It's afternoon. So let's go out. Even if
Okay.
you're feeling sleepy, and then
Yeah.
it's night, everybody's going to sleep. Let's sleep until I got used to it. And then I think, but with the one after the 1 week, 2 weeks, yes, of course, we were able to like blend in, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. I also noticed I think some different parts have different time zones.
Mm.
So how do you now relate it? Because it was quite difficult even reaching out to you. We're able to. I think even we had a slight
Yeah, some of the
difference in the
change. Yeah,
timing.
it depends.
Not so
It's I
long.
think for example, if you're in Perth and Perth has a different time zone, it doesn't affect me here in Melbourne, because I live here. My work schedule works with the time here. Whatever I
Yeah.
do is works with my time. And whoever is in the Perth, whatever time it is there, they work with that time. So it doesn't get to affect you. As in,
Yeah.
what other time zone they have in other places don't get to affect you. I think it's just you live where you live and you work with the time of
Yeah.
where you're residing. Yeah.
Quite interesting. I think some other questions I have, you've already answered them. Talking about the support groups we have, like the Black community and the Asian community. And you also talked about the healthcare system for residents, and we're asking if it's free, like the NHS. So you
Yes,
already
it is
talked
free
about them.
for permanent residents and citizens, the ones
Yeah.
that are covered by Medicare.
So finally, I would want you to give us a general advice for anyone still considering relocating to Australia as a nurse.
Um, okay. If you're talking about relocation, I think it's not something you just jump into. I think it's something you really need to settle down and plan. Planning is an essential part. And you're not just planning if you're a single person, of course, it's easy for you to decide, do your plan. But you see, when family is involved, a lot of things comes into consideration. For example, now you're getting a job, maybe after your registration and all that, and then you eventually get a job. You're reconsidering, where do I go to? Should I go to a regional place? Should I go to a village? Should I go to the city, considering the cost of living and all that? And sometimes you're carried away, like, because when I was coming, I had a friend who, yeah, we came from the UK together. So he's not really my friend. Where he was going was a remote area. And of course, they were offering him a car, they were offering him a higher position and all that. Of course, that's something everyone will want to go for.
Yeah.
But then I thought of it, he's single. I am married. What are the opportunities for my husband? That's another thing to consider. What about my children? In what kind of environment do I want them to grow up? So there are a lot of things to put into consideration when you're planning about relocation. There's still another very important thing that I think I haven't spoken about Australia. So that if you're making up your mind to come, while you're planning money for your visa, planning money for your housing and all that, please plan money to get a car. The transport system in Australia is not same with what we have in the UK. You find out that in the UK, bus is like a no.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, since I came to Australia, I don't even know how their bus system works. I have never entered a bus before, because here it's like it's a normal thing for everyone to own a car. So one advice is, before you leave Australia, before you leave UK, if you can get your driving certificate, your driving license, sorry, that would be good. It would have been a bit of a hassle for us. The only thing was that we already browsed before we came, research, do a lot of research, especially know where you're going to, and then do a lot of research about where you're going to, what it takes, reach out to people. I'm happy if you want to reach out to me to ask some questions. I'm happy to direct you. Reach out to people who are already there. They will be able to like guide you on what to do and what not to do. So because we already had this knowledge, like, oh, in Australia, the bus system is not, so we knew we were going to get a car. So we got to Australia today, and then the next day, we were already checking where we can. And then the next day, I think the next 2 days, we got a car. That's how important owning a car is. If not, you won't be able to commute to anywhere, especially if you don't know their timing or you don't understand their bus system. But even if you do their bus system, you see in UK, I remember those days when I was living in UK. In fact, my house was close to a bus stop. And I could tell you, I could bet my jugular for it that every 15 minutes, a bus will come.
A bus will come.
It's not same here. So if you're planning your time that you're going to work, I think the best thing is have what will take you to work. So if you're coming and you're deciding to come and you don't have a driving license, if it's possible, get your driving license in the UK, so that when you come here, it will not be much of a problem for you.
Yeah, just to chip in, is the UK driving license, does it still work over there in Australia?
Yes.
So it's the same.
You don't have to. You just take it to your driving licensing body, and then they give you, if you have UK, depending on how many years you've owned your UK license, or if you have, for example, I think when we came, I didn't have a license in the UK. I only had a provisional. My husband had a license, and of course, he's driven in Nigeria. So when he came here, they outrightly gave him a driving license, not with a P or maybe provisional or no. They outrightly gave him a driving license. But myself, I had to now do a driving test to be able to get, and then coupled with the fact that I had my Nigerian driving license. I think my Nigerian driving license was like about 3 years or so. They considered it though.
Okay.
But the only thing is, because it's from Nigeria, you have to do another driving test here, which I did, and then they considered that year and they gave me a full license.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yes. So that's it. So if you have a license in Nigeria, make sure it's handy, come with it. And if you haven't done your driving, please try and do your driving in UK before you come, especially if you're single. I had a boy who came from my hospital in the UK. He used an agent when we were coming, but I did my process myself. And so I really don't know where to send him to. And he was lamenting. While in the UK, he uses bicycle. But here, that wasn't very visible for him, because where he was commuting was a bit of a distance. And he didn't know how to drive. It was a big challenge for him. He had to start struggling to. It was unlike myself that, okay, my husband had a license and I was now madam. They were carrying me everywhere. You get? So if you're coming alone, please equip yourself. And if you're coming with your partner, make sure that one of you have a driving license, possibly both of you, because most likely both of you will own a car. You might not be able to depend on one car in Australia, just because you're doing your work and your husband is doing his work. So everyone needs a car.
Is it still the The right-hand drive still in Australia. Is it like the same
Same with
UK system?
same with UK, yes.
Oh, okay. So it's really not so difficult to.
No, no. If you've driven in it's if you've driven in UK, I think it's easier. I think the only difference is the fact that you're going to be seeing wider roads. Yeah, because when I started driving here in Australia, it's like UK, you're seeing more like
Yeah,
smaller
everything's
roads, and
small. Yeah,
but this one you're just seeing everything is like massive, and you're like, oh, everybody's coming and
that's
all that.
massive.
So yeah, it's the same thing.
Yes, and I think I have a question from Chisom. Chisom is asking, how's the housing like? Is it still PN like the UK, or
No,
it's
no, no, no,
according
no, no, no,
to?
no, no, no. Australia have their own different way. Australian houses are bigger than those ones you have in the UK. I think that was one thing. That's one thing I really enjoyed here. The fact that your houses are big, the
Hmm.
rooms are big, they're spacious compared to UK. But that you can still see some tiny ones here, depending on what you're looking for. But yeah, the houses are most houses here, they're not built the UK
The
way.
UK standard. Okay. Thank you
And
very
sorry,
much.
I think there was something you concerning the mortgage we talked about. There's still
Yes,
options apart from you going to buy a house which is already built. You can decide to build your house yourself.
you can decide to build your
Yes,
house
yes,
yourself.
yes. You can decide to build your house yourself. So
Oh,
you still pay your 30,000 deposit, and then the bank gives you whatever is left, and then you build your house to your test. That's another very good one.
oh, that's a great one. Not just a good one. I don't think that happens in the UK.
I don't know. I don't know.
I
I
don't
really don't
think
think so.
so.
But yeah,
Yeah.
here you can build your house the way you want it.
Wow, I think we would end it that way because that's the icing on the cake. Thank you very much, Charity, for your time. Thanks for sparing this time for us. Please, if you have any question, you can still drop it on the chat box. And thank you for sharing this resourceful information to everyone. So, guys, if you are still considering, at least you've heard a lot about relocating to Australia as a nurse. Um, I think you should make up your mind. The APRA system, they've launched the new pathways, pathway 1 and pathway 2, that started 1st of April 2025. So it's now very easy for nurses to register with the Australian government. I made a video on that. You can check it out on my YouTube channel, True Talk with Sam. Not to waste much of your time, Charity, thank you so much for joining us today. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe, like, and share this video to your friends. And I hope to see you next month. Thank you very much, guys. And I hope you have a good day. And Charity, have a good night rest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Yeah.